Hey there, welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write about movies, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. I'm co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast, and my pronouns are he, him.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Salute.
Thank you.
So this week on the show, we are talking about some movies. But before we talk about movies, which is what we always do, I don't know why I say that every week. Over on Patreon, we are talking about the Donald Sutherland, Jane Fonda, 1971, Alan J. Pakula thriller Clute. That is a real name of a real movie. Clute. Because we wanted to talk about Donald Sutherland because he just left us. So we had a great conversation about that. Lots of larfs. So please go over and check it out. Yeah. Okay, so the movies we're talking about on the regular show, that is to say this one tonight, we are talking about Beverly Hills Cop, Axel, Kill, which is an action movie. We'll get into that. And then MaXXXine, the final question mark movie in the Pearl MaXXXine trilogy by Ty West and Mia Goth. So Megan and I saw Beverly Hills Cop, Axel, for better or worse.
Boy, did we.
So let's get into it. Do I need to read a description of it? I mean, it should just be Cash Grab by Eddie Murphy and Friends. I don't know. But here's the one sentence IMDb summary. Axel Foley returns to Beverly Hills after his daughter's life is threatened. Includes old pals John Taggart and Billy Roseward working to uncover a conspiracy. Okay, fair enough. Also, 2 movies that Kevin Bacon is in this week. We'll get to the second one in a little bit.
He is working hard.
Yeah. So the one thing that I genuinely liked about this, which is funny what I'm about to say considering what I said about Clute and giving away who the villain is in that movie. I have always appreciated that the Beverly Hills Cop series lets you know from the moment the villain walks on screen who the villain is. And the whole movie is about Axel Foley gathering the evidence to capture that person. Mm-hmm. That is the one thing that is sort of the through line between these 4 movies. The other thing that it has in common with the other movies is like Beverly Hills Cop 3, it's kind of dog shit. So it may be better than Beverly Hills Cop 3. I haven't seen it in so long, I really don't remember. And
I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. I think I've only seen bits and pieces on TV.
I've never seen it.
I just remember more than anything feeling like it was dead. It was just leaden, you know? Like John Landis by that point, maybe he's finally feeling the guilt for the Vic Morrow death, you know, a decade later. I don't know. But it's a sorely lacking screenplay, a terrible hack directing, weird lighting job. It's a weird fucking movie.
But this one or Beverly Hills Cop 3?
3. This one is just...
okay. I thought we were talking about this one.
This one feels more like Beverly Hills Cop 2 in the sense that it's super, super slick, like a Tony Scott movie, which Beverly Hills Cop 2 is a Tony Scott movie.
I wish it was like a Tony Scott movie.
Yeah, this is kind of like got all the worst elements of an under-directed John Landis movie and the worst elements of a Tony Scott movie, with none of the thrill of the good stuff of a Tony Scott movie, like, say, The Fighter Jets or Denzel Washington. You know? So the story is correct. I mean, we're introduced to this daughter that, of course, he doesn't mention in any of the other movies. And you think that she would have been mentioned in the third one because he says she's 32. And the third movie came out 30 years ago. So he would have had a kid in that one. I don't remember any mention of her, but whatever. Like I said, I haven't seen it since 1994. And so basically what happens is he goes out and he tries to find out what's going on with his daughter, who has taken on this, case to defend a cop killer. And the guy was set up, and the bad guy is Kevin Bacon, because of course it is, because that's kind of what Kevin Bacon does now, I guess.
Yeah.
And I will say, Kevin Bacon's great. He's great. He's so great.
Yeah,
talk about it. He's kind of like Donald Sutherland in the sense 100% every time.
Yes.
There's no 94% with
No.
Kevin Bacon. It is 100. Whether he's fucking dancing on top of cars or,
dancing out his anger
or hanging out with the cartel as he is in this movie. And then poor Joseph Gordon-Levitt, just like talk about the shit end of the stick. Well, like what is his character even doing in this?
The love interest of his daughter, and like who cares?
This and the daughter is just kind of this sort of nothing part. I mean, she's fine in it. I can't. What's the name? Who is it?
It's Taylor Page,
yes.
Who is a phenomenal actor. I love her. Every time she's in something, she's great.
She's really quite good, and I think she does as well with this as she can.
Yes, I completely agree. But it's a nothing part. The only thing is that she's supposed to be cranky and bitter around him because she doesn't like her dad because he doesn't really try very hard. Which, listen, I understand, fraught family relationships, but give her a little bit more to do.
She does free herself and shoot one of the bad guys in the face.
That is true.
So
okay, that's something.
That's something.
I mean, yeah.
Because when she gets like kidnapped, basically at the end, and sort of held as a bait for them, I was like, "Are we really going? Is she the Lisa Eilbacher of this movie?" Jenny Summers. No, she's not. She escapes from her cuffs and she shoots a guy. So there you go. But really, this is just kind of a lot of wasted opportunities. And unfortunately, Eddie Murphy is kind of trying to toe the line between the original Axel F, which was an actual grounded real character, and what he became, especially in Beverly Hills Cop 2, which was just some fucking clown. And he's kind of trying to walk the line between those two because he's trying to do some Eddie Murphyisms, but he's also trying to play some stuff straight. And he does have a couple of line deliveries where he should be going for the easy joke, but he delivers the line straight and it actually works better than if he were making a joke. Like when he says, this is going to be like going to Buffalo Wild Wings. And then they walk into that bar and he's like, this is not like Buffalo Wild Wings.
That was really funny. That I think might be the only time I chuckled. Yeah.
When I'm from Detroit, this will be like going to Buffalo Wild Wings. And then they walk into this bar where Luis Guzman is a drug runner and he's singing Maneater in Spanish in front of the entire bar, and he just
with glitter on his face.
With glitter on his face.
Right. I love that.
And he just looks at Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and with the straightest face, he's like, "This is not like Buffalo Wild Wings."
No.
And that was like the one time I laughed out loud, and I was like, he can still do it when he needs to. Why didn't he do it the rest of the time? Megan, I have monopolized this fucking takedown. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know if I'm actually even the right person to talk about this movie because I don't like the first Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, it's fine, and I think I saw the second one. I'm not even sure. And I definitely did not see the third one. So I have no love for this franchise. I have no nostalgia for this. I am not an Eddie Murphy fan. I used to be before I knew how fucking homophobic he was in, the 80s. But yeah, this just for me was a lot of wasted opportunities. And it was, to me, I think your complaints about the third Beverly Hills Cop very much echo my feelings on this Beverly Hills Cop. Like everything just felt very flat. Like even when there's like a chase with the helicopter, that should be exciting. And it just feels so dead, just so nothing. And the humor fell flat for me, and the performances were just nothing, and the characters weren't really given much to do. And yes, I know it's an action comedy, but still, I feel like they should still have some punch, some panache, something.
Yeah.
I will say, I always like John Ashton, and I like seeing him here. So that was nice. And Paul Reiser too. But again, Paul Reiser's not really given much to do.
Bronson Pinchot's not given anything to do. I mean, it's like,
oh God, I'm sorry. I cannot stand the type of humor where we're going to give somebody a funny accent. Isn't that hilarious? No, it's not. It's racist as fuck, or it's just stupid. So he's a very talented performer, and I did not find him amusing at all here.
No, he wasn't. The one person whose performance I really liked, this will not surprise you at all, Nassim Pedrad. The one scene she's in.
She's actually quite good. Yes,
because
I agree
she's
with you.
invested in it. She's, clearly was given a lot of rope to do what she wanted. And
Yes.
and she did it, and it works, because if you've ever seen Nasim Pedrad do anything, talk about someone who commits. I mean,
Yes.
she's like the Kevin Bacon of Nasim Pedrads. I mean, just
I mean, that whole isn't she do that whole show Chad where she plays like a middle school boy or something?
Yes, she did.
But I will say, even her part feels very much like a sitcom. Like, it felt
Totally.
very much, and like, that's not what Beverly Hills Cop should be to me. Like, it should be, I don't know, shouldn't it be kind of edgy and kind of like gritty? I don't know. Like, it's kind of how in my memory Beverly Hills Cop is.
Should have gotten Martin Brest. They should have made Beverly Hills Cop 4 instead of Geely.
Instead of Geely. Oh, man.
Oh, well.
But anyway, yeah. But just to me, the humor just felt like a bad sitcom. It didn't feel like,
it's a bummer.
yeah, like it didn't feel like a film. I don't know.
And this movie clearly had a lot of money to spend. And this is what they came up with. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Although I do wonder how much of that went to paying, the cast, like especially Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, but there are 3 enormous action set pieces in this movie.
That's true.
One with a I don't know what it's not like a street sweeper, but it might be a street. It's a snowplow.
Yeah, it's a snowplow. Yep.
And then a helicopter, and then a fucking huge truck drives through a mansion, which
that's true.
That looks like they drove that through a mansion. That does not look like CGI. Maybe it was. But
and sadly, I was bored through all of it. And shouldn't that all be riveting and compelling? And
I know when you're doing the camera, exactly. When you're doing the car mount in a way that the camera is moving with the car, it should be a lot more interesting, especially if the car is going towards someone's door and there's a guy inside the car going, bleh! Nothing.
Dave, I found that more interesting what you just did than the actual movie.
Yeah, that was me describing to the extra what I wanted him to do in that scene. So,
yeah. So this was a slog for me. This was hard to watch, unfortunately.
Bummer.
Yeah, I feel like Eddie Murphy sort of made 2.5 really good movies to me. He did 48 Hours, which I think is a kind of a knockout from start to finish. He did Trading Places, which I think is not a knockout. It's got its moments. I don't love it. And then Beverly Hills Cop. And I think that's when he stopped making, this is going to sound strange considering how many R-rated movies he made, but I think that's the last movie he made for adults. I think every movie that came after that, it became about his persona and his comedy. And, you get to Coming America, where he plays 4 parts in that.
Yes.
And it's the Eddie Murphy show and also the Arsenio Hall show. And who the fuck asked for that? So
I will say I did love Coming to America as a child. I don't enjoy it as much as an adult.
I have a lot of affection for it, but I don't think it's a good movie.
No, it's not. But same. But I will say I do legitimately love The Golden Child. I think that is a ridiculous movie, and I think it is weirdly funny. So,
okay. Oh, what he made one more adult movie in the 90s. It's called Metro, and Michael Wincott is the bad guy. So that it's a fucking 90s movie. So. Anyway, do you have anything you want to say to end this talk about this travesty of filmmaking?
No, I feel so bad. I really do. Evan, I'm very curious if you do end up watching it. I'm very curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, I'm still interested in seeing it because I do really like the first Beverly Hills Cop movie. And I don't remember anything about the second one, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen all of the third one.
Yeah.
I feel like, what am I missing? And I'm just like, is everyone shrouded with nostalgia, or is this really, am I missing what everyone else is seeing? Because this has gotten great reviews, and I just don't fully understand it. I don't know. This has a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
And it has a 76% audience score. I don't know. I'm watching a different movie, I think.
2 out of 3 film viewers must be wrong. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, like what you like. And I never want to yuck anyone's yum. If you like it, great. But I'm just like, it's really certain movies. I'm just like, yeah, I can see why people like it, but I can't stand it or whatever, or it didn't work for me. This I am bewildered by.
yeah, this is at best really mediocre.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
What are you going to do? I just watched the first one over the weekend, and I remembered just watching it. I'm like, yep, this is what works about it for me is, one, you've got the story that is funny, but Axel Foley is a real person in that movie. It's not just the Eddie Murphy show, although he does have his moments.
Right.
And it is grounded in reality. It's got that shocking murder in the first 10 minutes.
That is shocking.
It is.
Mhm.
Every time I watch a reaction channel and they've never seen Beverly Hills Cop, everyone loses their fucking minds. They're like, they cannot believe that James Russo gets 2 to the back of the head like that,
Yeah.
And so then the humor works. It works great because there's no love interest. Great idea to not have a love interest in an action comedy.
Completely agree.
And Eddie Murphy is a good enough performer that he can pull off having grown up in the same neighborhood as Jenny and Mike, even though he's at least 10 years younger than both of them. So anyway, and even though the story doesn't really make much sense, it still works. So let's move on. Let's to
Okay, let's do it.
Kill. When I thought of the title of this movie, I thought of the dog in Spike Lee's Summer of Sam yelling at the son of Sam, I want you to kill. Did you guys ever see Summer of Sam?
Nope. But I know what
No.
you're talking about because I know that he thinks the dog is telling him to kill people.
The dog tells him to kill people on screen in the movie. It's amazing.
Wow, that's a choice. That is a bold choice.
It is a fucking choice and a half.
Yeah.
So let me tell you folks out there listening at home what Kill is. So this is a movie from India, and here's your one sentence IMDb line. During a train trip to New Delhi, a pair of commandos face an army of invading bandits, and boy, do they ever.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
I mean, that is an accurate description of
Yes.
this movie. I don't think this is the most violent movie I've seen in the last 5 years because I've seen a lot of horror movies. But as far as kind of like a mainstream action movie goes, it's up there. I mean, this is boy. So why don't Evan? We haven't heard from you much yet. So why don't you fill us in on what you thought of Kill? And I can interrupt you as much or as little as you want.
Sounds good. Well, it's funny you use the word commando because they are referred to as commandos.
Mhm.
And I was saying after we finished the movie that this movie has a very high body count and it made movies like Commando feel tame to me. And Commando, Arnold kills in excess of 80 people. And they say that there was like 40 or so bandits that were killed in this. It felt like more to me. There were so many people that got killed in so many brutal ways. It is a very over the top, very bloody, very violent action movie. And I think for the most part, it really works for me. I don't know that I loved the ending where it was like we have our hero kind of like dying on a bench and seeing his dead fiance. I don't know if that really worked for me, but it certainly
was he
makes
dying? I wasn't sure. I didn't necessarily.
Yeah,
think
see,
he was
I thought that he
dying.
was dying. That's why he was seeing her because she was dead.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily think he was dying. I just thought he was seeing her dead.
Fair enough. I mean, this movie makes some bold choices. It kills everyone. I mean, this guy, he's a commando. He's getting on board this train to be with his fiance who's just gotten engaged to someone that she doesn't want to marry because her dad's this rich, powerful guy. That funny enough, everyone on the train is afraid of once they realize who he is, but on the train he holds no power, so they can try and kill him and kill his daughter. And so that's an interesting point there. But anyway, so this guy gets on the train and then he proposes to his girlfriend, And then immediately after that, these bandits take over the train and they're just going to rob everybody. But then him and his buddy violently resist them and set off this, chaotic. It feels a lot like Train to Busan in terms of level of train chaos. It's kind of like Train to Busan mixed with like Under Siege 2, and I don't even know what other train movie that I can't think of the title of, but it feels like it's a couple different movies rolled into one.
With a touch of the Raid Redemption to it, too.
Yes, that's the movie I was thinking of, non-train related movie.
Because I was like, there's like Bullet Train, there's Nonstop.
Yeah.
But it's very much like the Raid, yeah.
It's very actiony, and it makes some bold choices, like the lead. Well, there's like the guy who's in charge of the bandits, and then there's like his idiot son who's really kind of in charge and just going wild, and he kills the fiance in a brutal fashion, I might add.
Yeah.
Stabs her multiple times and then stabs her in the neck when her bloody hand is like on the window and the guy is like watching her die.
And then shoves her out the train door.
Yeah,
don't shoves her out
in
the
slow
train.
motion. We see
in
her
slow
fall.
motion.
Yeah.
And then the title card comes on screen for the movie 45 minutes into the movie.
I love that. I love that choice. That's a great one.
Yeah, that was a bold choice.
That was more Coen than the Coens ever did. I mean,
yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what else. Okay, so and then his buddy gets killed. I forget who else gets killed.
But wait, before his buddy gets killed, his buddy gets kidnapped, his buddy gets shot, and his buddy gets stabbed several times before he actually finally dies.
Yeah, and he gets stabbed and beaten senseless. Mm-hmm. And I think by like the 36-minute mark, he's already captured by the bad guys, our hero, and he gets the crap kicked out of him. And then after his fiance dies, that's when he turns into like the Terminator. He goes from like being in a daze to just in a pure rage killing mode where he can dodge everybody and he kills so many people. It is just Dave, I think you had said via text it was a trip or something to that effect. And it definitely
I don't remember what I said, but yeah, I was like, yeah, ooh, hey, it's something or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's very over the top, and I feel like that's either going to work for you or it doesn't. Sometimes it feels very tongue-in-cheek. Other times it feels like it's treating things very seriously, and other times it feels like it's treating things very melodramatically. Like there's that scene where he has taken all the corpses of the bad guys and hung them from the rungs, and he's created what I called
right?
an obstacle corpse. For the villains to try to navigate through.
Never even occurred to me. That's why I love you.
Right. I'm here for the puns.
Yeah.
And so and so all the bandits are taking down their dead family members and just wailing and crying in the aisles. And I'm like, on the one hand, okay, this is cool. Like they're showing us that the henchmen are people too. That henchman was somebody's brother, father, cousin. They're giving humanity the bad guys, but at the same time, I'm thinking like you have people just wailing in the aisles, but we've watched them like brutally murdered in a very over the top kind of fashion. So I don't know what this movie is trying to make me feel. Is it supposed to be saying like, even though we make it look really awesome, an eye for an eye is a bad way to do things, and like violence begets violence? Or is it just fun to watch anyway and don't think too hard about it?
Well, the director said in the production notes that he wanted to show that evil isn't always what we think it is, and how people who can start off good may not stay that way, and how it's a more slippery slope. So
I'll buy that.
Okay. I mean, I thought it took a lot of gall for the villain to call our hero a monster. He's like, I only killed 4 of your guys. You killed 40 of mine.
Well, not only did he kill 40, and not only did he kill Fani, the henchman's son's father, but Omri also set him on fire.
I've never seen that before. I've
that
never
was
seen that
bonkers.
before.
He
not
shoved
just
lighter
set on
fluid.
fire.
Yeah.
Lighter fluid in his mouth, and
Lit his head on fire.
and then flicks the lighter so he sets on fire. Wow, that's brutal.
My favorite part of that whole thing, though, was how the guy who's trying to keep him from like doing whatever he's going to do sees that he's got the lighter and puts two and two together, and the look on his face, like, no.
And he's trying to stop him.
Yeah, I was like, that is very well done. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I was here for the action. I was here for the over-the-top violence. I was here for the fight choreography and the really bizarre medley of different styles of music in this movie, which was really all over the place. But I was kind of digging that. I don't know what the movie wanted me to feel, but I guess that's okay because it's just one of those beat 'em up, violent, kill everybody kind of movies. So I guess that's where I land. I liked it. Felt like it was way over the top. In some places, it just felt even too much, but I don't know. Still liked it anyway.
Okay, Megan, what about you?
Yeah, so I liked this too. I feel like I similarly in that I've seen this film before. I love Train to Busan. I think that is such a fantastic use of space. And I think this film uses space very effectively too. And I think the fight choreography, like you said, Evan, I think it is really well done. I love the bodies hung up by the bed sheets. There is some extremely gory moments, like when Amrit is Dave, you had said in your Letterboxd review about a fire extinguisher, and I saw that before I watched this, and then I was like, what's going to happen with a fire extinguisher? And then when you see Amrit like bashing a guy's head in pretty soon after Talika, his fiance, is murdered, like it's just beaten to a literal pulp, like just pulp. And I was like, holy shit, like that's pretty shocking. So yeah, the it's not just the level of, violence and that the body count, because I read the same thing, that it's 42 people die. And there's like 33 henchmen, so there's obviously a lot of innocent civilians who also die. But yeah, it's the level of gore, it's the extremes that it goes to. And I will say the brutality through which his fiance is murdered is really like I was shocked. Like I was not expecting her to die.
Me too.
Not then. I was expecting like either in the beginning and we're going to do a fridging, which we still do a fridging because that's what motivates him to act like, an unstoppable machine and go on a rampage. But yeah, or I was expecting her to die at the end, but I was not expecting her to die, about halfway through the movie and in such a brutal fashion. Like it is really something else. Like whew.
They linger on it and then they show it again later.
Again and again.
About it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, do we really need to keep seeing it over and over again?
And it's one of the few times they use practical blood too.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but it's really unfortunate because they're both really hot actors. Which is really, Lakshya, who plays Amrit, and Tanya Maniktala, they're a good-looking couple. How unfortunate. And she was just about to run away, and they were going to get married. And I was like, damn, they're really hot. Anyway.
I am never again going to feel bad about talking about how it's sad that the hot person died in a movie.
I mean, I think the villain, what was his name? Fani? I think he's rakishly handsome too. I feel
hot
too. I feel bad that they are all fighting.
Yeah, that was Raghav Juyul. Yes, no. I was like, can't we all just be friends? Hot friends? Like
yeah. And I thought he was the performances such as they are, fine. I thought he was great. Like,
yeah, I agree. He's really good.
He did that weird combo of I'm cartoonish, but you never know when I'm just going to turn fucking evil.
Yes, which is so unnerving because that instability and you don't know what they're going to do. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a shock. I mean, you see him kill the guard on the train, which I guess is not really a shock because you know
Yeah.
you know that's coming because the way the dialogue sets it up. But the brutality that he uses to kill Talika, and then he just kind of goes about as he's like, well, she wasn't doing what I told her to do, so whatever.
Yeah,
I had
she
to kill her.
challenged me. How dare she? Like, yeah, like he's so delusional.
It's
and he's
so
like just,
cavalier.
Yeah, and he's just like totally like rationalized it with himself. Like, yeah, which is why, to your point, Evan, it's so funny and fascinating when he like turns and calls him a monster. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you were brutal and you slaughtered a bunch of people and her, like, for fun. And because she challenged you because she didn't like you. Like, oh, what a creep. Anyway. But yeah, no, I liked this too. Yeah, I don't know if I would have had the camera linger on her dead body so much and repeat that over and over again.
No. Wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and I think this could have been tightened up a bit.
Yes.
But
it felt long toward the end.
Yeah. But I will, and it just kind of is repetitive. And like, and I think the reason we keep coming back to the Train to Busan and to the Raid is because even though those are repetitive and they're in very contained spaces, going up the stairs of the building and going to each floor, or going on the train and moving from, one end of the train to the other, those don't feel repetitive. Like they feel just propulsive and like so engaging, and you're just riveted to what's happening. And I didn't quite feel that way here, but I still really liked what was happening. I will say though, this is a level of bleak I was not prepared for.
Yes,
this film is so bleak, and I kind of love it for that. But also, I'm like, I don't know if I ever want to watch this again, just because it's so bleak.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. I was just watching it going, oh, wow, I was not expecting these bold choices killing off these main characters. And especially, I really liked the guy who played the friend, Abhishek Chauhan. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He was great. And so I was so sad when he got killed too eventually. And I'm in the same boat. As much as I enjoyed it, I thought, I'm not sure I want to watch this again because it is so bleak and sad, and just it doesn't feel gratifying in the same way like when you watch, John McClane hobbling away at the end of Die Hard. And, at least Lucy, there's the possibility that, he might reconcile with his wife, even though we know, or Holly rather. It's like at least there's like a possibility, a glimmer of hope. This guy, even if he doesn't die on that bench, he's lost everything.
He's lost everything, and he's lost his humanity. Like he's really done for. But at the same time, I agree with everything you're saying. I applaud this movie for those choices, and I applaud this movie for going there, because I think there is something. It's so interesting how, as societies, we're so drawn to violence and, violence, whether it's in film or TV or, video games or, books, whatever. And we're so drawn to that. And yet there's something there's something disturbing about that, and maybe we shouldn't feel gratified at the end of it. There's a consequence to it. I don't know. And I'm not saying like we should be punished for enjoying it, but I think at the same time, it's something to think about, something to ponder, like, what are the real life consequences of this level of violence? So I don't know. So even though I know exactly what you mean, and I want a cathartic ending, even if it's not quite a happy ending, I want a cathartic, slightly hopeful ending. At the same time, I'm like, kudos to this team for not doing that and not taking the easy way out.
Totally. And his friend, Viresh, I think his name was, right? He lived so long through the movie. I actually thought he might make it, because I was like,
too.
He gets the knife in the shoulder. I was like, oh, that's it. He gets shot in the shoulder. Oh, that's it. He gets knifed in the shoulder again. I was like, well, he lived through that. What can't this guy live through? Well, apparently a knife to the sternum. That's the one that did him in.
Yeah.
Whoa. In a very Saving Private Ryan-esque death.
Yes, I kept thinking about Mellish when that was going on, for sure. Ooh. I can only assume that I'm only going to speak for myself. I know a little about like Indian colonial history. I don't know anything about like current India politics, caste systems, whatever. I can only assume that how much they reference commandos and bandits and her rich family and this, I can only assume there must be some underlying commentary about Indian social classes. But
Good
other than
chance, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it definitely seems like it.
but I couldn't tell you what it means. All I know is that this movie is fucking crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
this is crazy. And it's really good most of the time. I, like you two, I had some pacing problems with it. Not so much at the end, although the end did drag. What drove me crazy was how long it took them to kill the giant guy. I was just like, can we just fucking kill this guy? He comes back like 6 times.
Right. Where's John Wick with that book?
Seriously.
In the library. You know when he kills that giant guy in the library with the book?
Yeah.
I'm like, where's John Wick with his book?
But what I did like about it was that it was finally 2 moms of slain passengers who killed him.
Yes.
Mhm.
I like that they teamed up. That was nice.
Yeah. But
And sad.
When he kept being like, where's my dad? What happened to my dad? I'm like, oh, he was probably somebody who was killed in a very brutal way. And then it turned out it was the guy with the knife to the throat. Oh, the one that was jammed in his mouth.
oh yeah.
Ooh, boy.
Speaking of,
Don't forget, they killed like a 15-year-old. Sorry, Megan.
That
what?
they did. I was gonna say there was another guy who got a knife in the mouth, like one of the henchmen, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Anyway, another gory, brutal kill.
Well, another thing that makes this so brutal is just that there's almost no gunplay in this movie. This is all like hand-to-hand, not all.
Yes.
This is 90% hand-to-hand combat and knives.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, I don't have a lot of fear of death unless it's protracted. And to be stabbed to death sounds like it would be fucking horrible. And then watching this, it's like, yes, fear is confirmed. Absolutely. You know, just relentless and brutal. Still, I had so much fun watching this because, like, every time someone died, I'm like, oh, I've never seen a knife in a movie go there. You know? Like,
there's a lot of creative kills.
Yeah. Well, and then they've also got those knives. I don't know what they're called. They're you know, angled is not the right word because they're, you know, not sharp edges. Well, except for the pointy part. But like the sort of traditional like Indian knives, and these guys are using these like they've been cooking with them their entire lives. So it's amazing. And I also want to give credit for whoever made the prop knives. Those look like real knives. They don't look like they're like the rubber ones that shake and shit like that. When what's our main character's name? Amrit. When he gets that, like, it kind of looks like a fire poker to the back. That thing does not bend at all.
No.
So whoever made that fake weapon, kudos to you, property master. That was really good work.
That's actually a really great point. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
yeah, I was speaking of that too, kind of in conjunction with that. I was really so Fani. He's in real life that actor is a dancer, but Lakshya, who plays Amrit, I don't think he's done a lot of like. He's not like an action star, and which is kind of amazing that the level of action he's required to do and the amount of training that the cast underwent. Like it's extremely impressive.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking about, this is totally stupid, but I was kind of thinking about how scrawny Tobey Maguire was, and then you see Spider-Man and you're like, holy shit, that vegan is enormous, you know? So
yes.
Yeah, I was reading that Lakshya, who plays Amrit, is really not done a lot of work he's done a lot of TV work. I don't think he's done any movies before this, but I could be wrong. So, I mean, I think he's probably got a career in movies now, if I had to guess.
So.
Does anybody have anything they want to round out this discussion of Kill with? I'm going to say it in my head from now on. Hey, do you want to go see Kill this weekend?
Like the octave change.
Yeah, thank you. I guess that's a no from you both.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I really, and I feel like I enjoyed that more than I should have. So
No, there's no shame in enjoying it. It's enjoyable.
I know it is, but it's one of those things that I've probably felt like worse about like some American movies, but it's so violent. At some point, I was sitting there going like, should I be liking this as much as I do? Because this is just like if you witnessed this actually happening, you'd be horrified. You'd be traumatized forever.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, so.
But that's the thing, it's because it's, fictitious, it's removed, it's okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I think I think the fact that you had that thought, I think that's good enough.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. That suffices, it's sufficient.
All right, well, with that, let's move on to our next really fucking violent movie of the night. MaXXXine. So this is the do we know if it's like a dead stop trilogy, or do we think we're going to get another MaXXXine movie, or is this it?
As far as I know, this is supposed to be the final film in the trilogy.
Yeah. So this is the third movie. I don't know if I said at the top, X is the first movie, Pearl's the second movie. This is now the last movie in this trilogy that Ty West has made with Mia Goth, MaXXXine. In 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress MaXXXine Minx finally gets her big break. But as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, that's not really quite right, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. Is her past really that sinister? I mean, she was being stalked by a killer,
Yeah, I mean, I would say from her perspective, she tries the whole movie to keep it secret. The fact that she was on the farm in 1979 in X, where she, drove over Pearl's head and squished it. So she killed her.
Well,
so she does try to keep that secret. So in that regard, yeah, from her perspective, it's a sinister past.
Yeah. Pearl did try to kill her though. So there
100%. I think she's completely justified, but I'm also
sure.
I also understand why she want to keep that under wraps.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, before we get into this, I really liked Pearl, which is the second movie, but it's the prequel to X. I thought X is kind of crappy. I never understood why people thought that was so fucking great. Because it was predictable. It looked good. I'll say it looked good, but it's predictable. It was kind of creepy, but not in a good way. With the weird, Mia Goth also playing Pearl as like an octogenarian who's like super hung up on like sex, and of course it all makes sense when you see Pearl. But I don't know. Did you like X a lot, Megan, or no? I can't remember.
I liked X. I was the one who liked it the most of all of us. But because I liked the technical craft of it, I think that, the editing and cinematography are really sharp and the performances were good. But I think the writing is not. And I was really bothered by the extremely ageist hagsploitation trope going on. And yeah, it was really like, do we really need to have women who pitting older women against younger women? And, I don't know. It was extremely ageist and gross from that perspective for me. But yeah, as far as the technical craft of it, yeah, I liked it and I enjoyed it. I liked Pearl too. Yeah, it's fine. I liked it. I like a musical horror, so sure.
I liked
that
Pearl
one
a lot, so I was kind of amazed how much I liked Pearl. Because
that is surprising.
Yeah. Well, it also is it's so different from X. I mean, X is very much, it looks just like the time period it's supposed to be set in.
Yep.
It looks like one of those movies. It's kind of a knockoff / homage, etc. to, Tobe Hooper and all those,
of course,
movies of the 70s. Whereas Pearl is sort of this like alternate diverse Technicolor musical thing, which also has serious elements of horror in it. And then you have MaXXXine, which sadly for me was quite predictable, but there were parts of it that I really liked a lot. Why don't you talk first? I talk a lot. You talk. What do you, MaXXXine, there's some, she's trying to break into she's trying to break into mainstream film from porn.
Yeah, from porn.
She has this audition that goes really well. She gets cast in a horror movie that is the sequel to a really popular horror movie. She thinks it's going to be a big thing, but then somebody starts killing all of her her porn star colleagues,
and her friends.
and
Yeah.
her friends, and then Bobby Cannavale and Michelle Monaghan in two of the strangest performances I've seen in years show up as two homicide detectives trying to solve this case. And then Kevin Bacon is this fucking weirdo private investigator, and he's great. I loved his performance. But I felt like the whole thing didn't quite gel together, especially when I was pretty sure where it was going, and then I was correct. And
I'm sorry, you're hilarious. You're like, Megan, why don't you take it away?
I know. Well, you know what I was trying to do?
Just...
I'm trying to get the story out before, so the story is like out, and then you can talk about it. But you're right. Why don't you go ahead?
You're just too cute, too funny.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, and I hate telling the plot, so I'm actually very glad that you told the plot. So thank you for that. Do you want to take it away? What didn't work for you though, since you're already on it?
Nope.
Okay. So I liked this. I liked this. I really love Mia Goth in this. I think she's fantastic as MaXXXine Minx. I think she does an incredible job depicting an incredibly ambitious, voraciously so ambitious, ruthlessly ambitious person who really believes in herself and in her talent and thinks she can really go the distance. And I think it's really a smart choice to open the film on the heels of Pearl, where it ends with that extremely awkward and painful audition, which is so terrible. But Pearl thinks she's, nailed and it's amazing. And then you have that really awkward smile all throughout the credits. And then you have this audition and she nails it. It's amazing. It's an incredible monologue.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really nuanced, really heartfelt, really good. And I like that there's Elizabeth Debicki. I like that she's playing a woman director, doing a horror sequel. I think that's cool. This, very similarly to Pearl and to X, has a ton of nods and allusions and homages to other films and other Hollywood institutions. Like there's a Buster Keaton reference where someone is stalking her and she says, "Hey, Buster." She's putting out her cigarette on Theda Bara's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And Theda Bara was a silent actress who was known for her vamp, sexy femme fatale roles. And then, there's the Psycho house that there's a chase in between, her and Kevin Bacon's creepy, seedy Louisiana detective who's very much looking like Jake from Chinatown.
Yes,
in his suit and with his scar on his nose with the bandage.
I didn't even think about that. That's totally true.
That's all I could think about. Yeah. I mean, this really wears its influences on its sleeve. And, there's some gnarly kills. Then Kevin Bacon dies in the car, getting squished in the car compactor. And this person doesn't die, but, MaXXXine uses her stiletto heel to stomp off someone's dick, which is so brutal and gory. And
all on screen.
All on screen. And then, but one of my favorites is when she shoots the villain, who, by the way, I saw it coming a mile away because it also makes thematic sense that, of course, the killer would be her father coming to get her. But yeah, she shoots him in the face with a shotgun. And I'm like, oh, that's like the exploding head that Tom Savini, the horror icon, did for Maniac, the 1980 slasher, as well as the exploding head he did for The Prowler in 1981, another slasher.
Don't forget Dawn of the Dead.
Yes, but that's not what I was referencing.
I know.
That's not a slasher. I'm saying this is a slasher film, and it's referencing.
He does that exploding head in the apartment complex.
Yes,
Dawn of the Dead. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, no, but I'm saying specifically for slashers. But yes, You are right. But yeah, so this is wearing its influences on its sleeve, which I very much like. I do think it's kind of a weird choice, though, to set this in 1985, considering that slashers the golden age had already passed, even though Nightmare on Elm Street came out in 1984. That kind of ushered in an age of supernatural horror films more so than more slashers, although there were still some slashers. Anyway, so someone who actually knows their slasher history, which I would assume Ty West does, it's kind of an odd choice to me. But other than that, that's kind of nitpicky. But again, if you're like immersing us in cinematic history, I'm going to pick up on those things and I'm going to ask questions. Having said that, I think Mia Goth is fantastic. I think this looks really gritty and kind of like sleazy and neon tinged in a way that it should. I think the 80s fashions are pretty good. Like they don't look jokey. They look really cool and slick, which I like. The mystery is not a mystery, really. It is like, if you've been following the movies, it is pitted religion and sexual freedom against each other throughout the entire trilogy. It's going to be her religious pastor father coming, and that's exactly what happens. So to me, I saw that coming a mile away. But I will say, I think this starts off extremely strong. The first act is incredibly strong. And then for me, it kind of fizzled out. And the ending, I kept waiting because Ty West's films, not just the other two in this trilogy, but like House of the Devil, which is such a great film and such a slow burn too.
Slow burn.
Yeah, that film I love. And his films have this like really satisfying conclusions. And this just didn't for me. This just kind of petered out. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's a bummer. And I think that as meta and clever as sometimes these films seem like they are, I don't really think they have that much to say. I think there are opportunities here to talk about ageism and sexism in Hollywood and, what does ambition do to you? And it doesn't do any of that. And that's okay. I guess it doesn't have to. But yeah, it ultimately doesn't really say anything. But I think that this is a great showcase for Mia Goth, and it looks really stylish and really good. So overall, I enjoyed it. I don't think it's as good as it could have been. But yeah, it's all right.
I feel almost exactly the same way.
Whoa!
I feel like there are some things in this that are just terrific, namely Mia Goth. I think I'll be interested to see what she does that's not part of this trilogy. I mean, I've seen her in a bunch of other things, but I feel like I haven't seen her as the lead in much outside of this. The most memorable thing I can think of her is in where there's two in the Emma, where she plays.
Mm-hmm. She's great in Emma.
She's great in that, and then where she gets spaghettified death in the space movie with
High Life.
That's the one.
I love High Life, and she's great in it. She's also really great in, and she's a lead in Infinity Pool.
See, now I haven't gotten around to Infinity Pool because I was just like, Brandon Cronenberg, super fucking creepy, more creepy than your dad. So
yeah, it's a creepy movie. I mean, it's not a movie that I particularly love by any means, but she's unhinged in it in a great way. So
yeah, she's got the goods, right? So
yes, agreed. She's very talented.
Yeah, so I liked the way it looked. I also, this is gonna be so fucking stupid, nitpicky specific. It's also a bizarre choice to me to set in 1985, and the only thing that I can think of is that is the year that the Night Stalker was captured.
That is true. That is true.
But this movie feels like, and I say again, this is stupid, this movie feels like 1983 in everything except for the shoulder pads that Michelle Monaghan had.
You know what's so funny that you say that, though? Because something that I was thinking about that I had forgotten to say, and I'm glad you did because it reminded me of it. So the very first slashers, like in 1980, were police procedurals. And that's what this is. And so it feels much earlier than 1985 because of that. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, you would know that better than anyone about the whole police procedural angle that so many slashers had at the beginning.
So many. Yeah, they really started off that way.
And so this has that. And like I say, I really, I don't love Michelle Monaghan. I think she can be really good. I don't think she's very good here because
I don't like her generally. I don't think she's very good.
I don't think she is either. But
I love Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, he's good, but not. I don't know if he's good here.
He's weird in this. The two of them make very strange choices. Like
agreed.
And I mean,
agree with
give
you.
them credit for making choices, but they're weird. And I also think that it's
Yeah.
strange that her father can get the upper hand on them when they're chasing him up the Hollywood Hills. It's like,
Right?
they both have guns. All he has is like a crucifix that he stabs in Michelle Monaghan's eye, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
Um,
Oh my God.
all
So
I can think of
weird.
is that he must have been, waiting in the shadows for them. I don't know. I think the last third of it, I hate it when people talk about movies having 3 acts, because most movies actually have more than that, but that's okay.
But I think this one does have
this
3
one
acts.
does have 3 distinct acts, and I think the third one is really, really kind of weak, and it sort of
Yes.
drags down the rest of the movie, because the ending is just like, not like when it's revealed that it is her father. It's just like, well, of course it's her father, because they set
Right.
up like the end of X is like, that's what the end of X is. It's that
Yep.
videotape of him talking about how he's got to save his daughter from the sex mongers or whatever it is. I don't even remember what he says.
That's what they should call porn directors. Sex
Sex
mongers.
He's a sex monger.
Go down to the sex mongery to pick up some porn.
I know. But the thing about Ty West that I think is his strength is, I think he is, how do I want to put this? He's really good at making artifice look like art. Does that make sense? Like he's good at,
I know what you mean.
like The House of the Devil, there's really nothing to that movie, but between the pacing and the performance, I mean, I'm talking about like the story, but between the pacing,
Oh,
and
yeah. There's no story.
yeah, the pacing and the performances and the editing and everything just kind of works and works. And I love a slow movie, but that movie is slow even for me. But boy, does it work over time when you give yourself up to it.
Exactly.
And
it delivers.
And it delivers.
By the end, it delivers.
That last 20 minutes of that fucking movie is insane. It's insane.
So good.
And it looks great. And
It
Tom
really
Noonan
does.
is absolutely the right person to play that creep. And Mary Warnov's the right person to play the other creep. I don't know who they put in the cat grandma makeup, but whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I also love, especially because it kind of comes
talking about.
Yeah, you kind of know that it's coming, but you're not sure exactly what's going to happen when what is her name? Greta Gerwig gets her head blown off in the car.
Oh yeah.
That is one, you know it's coming, but at the same time, it's so visceral. You kind of can't believe what you just saw.
Yeah, very much so.
And this movie kind of feels, MaXXXine kind of feels like it's going to do that sort of stuff, but it's actually kind of pulls its punches in a strange way.
Yeah, it does. Considering the,
Stomping on
exploding
someone's
head and stomping on the dick. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like the choices that Ty West made in this as a filmmaker didn't transcend its genre roots, or its, it just feels kind of like he's not ripping off, but his homage isn't like building up to anything.
Right.
And I think this is what I mean. Maybe he is just commenting on the artifice of Hollywood as opposed to the art of, if you want to say, slasher films. Although, to your point, this is not set really in the slasher era. So
not in the golden age,
Not
I
in the
should
golden
say.
age,
Yeah, because there were definitely, there were pre-slashers that, you can look back and say they were, and there are certainly slashers after.
Drive-In Massacre, one of my favorites.
Yeah, nice. But the thing of it is that Ty West has said, he said this for X and he said this for MaXXXine as well, that his quote point, if there, has to be a point, his point for making this trilogy was to focus on the craft of filmmaking. Like, this is a love letter to filmmaking.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so, like make it look better, make it look different, I'm kind of watching this and I can just see all of the influences, and that's fine. It's really fine, but there's nothing transcendent about it.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. Like, it's not doing anything new. And, and part of me is like, does it have to? If it's doing what it's doing really well, isn't that sufficient? But part of me is like, but if you're going to pull from all these influences and sources, it'd be nice if you did something different or new with it. But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if it gets people to seek out, these silent movie stars, if it gets people to watch more Technicolor films like with Pearl, if it gets people to watch Grindhouse films, with X, if it gets people to watch 80s slashers, like in MaXXXine, like great. Then job accomplished, job well done. But I will say, but no, I understand what you're saying because I feel very similarly. Like I'm like, yes, I enjoyed this. Yes, I like a lot of elements of this. It looks great. Mia Goth is great, but I'm also kind of like, what's the point? And then part of me is like, does it have to have a point? Because like, I don't always need a point. It doesn't always have to have a story. I'm here for vibes and aesthetics, but I'm also like here watching it. I'm like, what's the point? Like we've come to the end of this trilogy. And I will say, I think this film could stand alone. I think even if you didn't watch X or didn't watch Pearl, you could follow along and still get something out of this film.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is great. And I think that's the strength of a good sequel. But I'm also like, what is the point at the end of it?
Yeah, I kind of feel like, when you're paying homage to something, it's got to be, I mean, I don't know if I would actually use the word transcendent to describe House of the Devil, but there's something about House of the Devil that feels more pure. Does that make sense?
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Whereas this just kind of feels like it's so overt what it is that it doesn't feel like it really has any heart to it in a way, which is unfortunate because there is heart to it. It just doesn't feel like there is. Also in particular because Mia Goth is so great and Kevin Bacon's so great.
He's so great.
And I love Giancarlo Esposito in this.
He's great in it too.
I'm kind of hot and cold on him generally, but he is fucking fantastic in his 3
he's
scenes
really good
in this.
here.
I think he's always good. And
I do too.
Even if the material's not good, he's usually good in it.
I'm with you, Evan. I love him.
You know why I am hot and cold on Giancarlo Esposito? Because I can never think of him without his fucking terrible performance in what's that stupid movie with the Christopher McQuarrie movie, Usual Suspects. Oh my God. He's so awful in that.
I don't even remember him in it. I tried to forget that's a movie.
He's the investigating cop who's not Chaz Palminteri, basically. I think that's just a bad movie. I don't think it's necessarily his fault.
Well, unfortunately, that's a movie I will never watch again. So.
Okay. So,
considering who's in the cast, just saying.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, to me, it's just a bad movie. So that's kind of where it begins and ends.
Fair.
So all of this is, it's just, I'm just saying things I've already said. It just kind of, isn't quite the sum of its parts, unfortunately. So it's not bad by any means, but it's
good. Yeah.
Could have been cool.
Could have been better.
Not quite cool enough.
Right.
Quick question though.
Yes.
Friday the 13th as slasher. Are they also supernatural? ?
Is Friday the first Friday?
Not
the 13th?
The first one, like the third through the rest of them, I guess.
I couldn't tell you. I've never seen them.
You've never seen any of them.
I know.
I've
seen
first
Friday.
one?
No, listen. I've seen Friday the 13th, not the other ones. So I can't say.
You know what?
Oh no, I've seen the second one too. I've seen the first two. Sorry.
You might be better off though. I mean,
no, I need to see them. As someone who loves horror and loves slashers, I do need to see them. I just haven't seen them.
Yeah. Well, this movie does cover one of my favorite genres, which is just like corny 80s grindhouse action movies, because it has elements of that too. So I was pleased to see her driving her car like a maniac for no reason.
That was great.
That was hilarious, for example. Anyway, grossest thing in the movie aside from stomping on the dick, which aside from being kind of like actually wasn't that gross, the dogs licking up Kevin Bacon's viscera. That was gross.
That was gross.
Yeah.
That was really gross. I know. Yeah.
So he gets crushed in the compactor, Evan, and then Giancarlo Esposito's like, "Don't worry, you go home. We'll take care of this." And I'm like, "How are they going to take care of it?" And then they let the two Dobermans loose, and the Dobermans start eating Kevin Bacon's leftovers.
Yeah.
Gross.
Bloody bits.
Yeah.
I was like, as someone who had a Doberman growing up, Dobermans are the sweetest. I love them. They get a bad rap.
They really are quite nice dogs.
They're lovely.
Well, that was MaXXXine. Anything you want to add there, Megan, or are you good?
I'm good. Just Mia Goth is great.
Yeah,
as always, in everything.
She is great. All right, gang. Well, that brings to a close another episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. We want to thank you for listening with us, and we had a lot of fun talking this week. So Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley. I mean, it's a pass for me. Megan?
Oh, yeah. No. But I feel like if you love that series and you're nostalgic for it, watch it on Netflix. Sure, why not? But
I kind of
I'm going to say pass.
Yeah, I feel like if you are nostalgic for it, it's kind of a must watch, even if you are pretty sure going on it's not going to be great. But oh well. Kill. I'm a hard yes on Kill.
Yeah, I would say yes to Kill too.
Yeah, but be warned, there's a ton of violence.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it's
it is
brutal.
called Kill.
I was just going to say it is there in the title. But you're right, Evan. That's a good point. You might not be aware of how much it is.
And then with MaXXXine, I'm going to say a yes with a qualified your mileage may vary.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, everybody, that's this week's Spoiler Piece Theater. I want to say thank you for being with us. I want to thank our wonderful sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Heather, thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Want to thank our awesome editor, Otto Clamor. Otto, thank you for doing the hard, good audio stuff each week.
Thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. If you want to check us out, our website is spoilerpiece.com. If you want to get in touch with us on social media, we are Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook. We're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you'd like to get in touch and discuss your feelings about Kill or MaXXXine or Beverly Hills Cop, whatever, you can give us an email. That's spoilerpiece@gmail.com. Or if you want to do it with a voicemail, you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
Oh, we love to hear ye old voicemails. If you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. That really helps us out. It helps us out even more if you would rate and review us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you very much in advance. If you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. As I said at the top of the show, we discussed Donald Sutherland's 1971 film Clute, in which he plays Clute. Clute, I'll say it again, Clute. And
Clute.
We had a lot of fun talking about Clute, who gave the boot to the guy out the window. Not really. My name is Dave Riedel.
I want to see how long you would keep the rhyme going.
I know. I was just, after I got to like the third one, I was like, this is stupid. So my name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm Dave Sees Movies on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, and Threads.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast. You can follow me on social media as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast and a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Opinion S World or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinion S.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.